Good morning. Morning. Hear the lack of enthusiasm in that? There is a reason. I am not here to decorate your day with a pleasant idea. I have been up with this truth, walking the floor of my own consciousness, and I must give it to you straight. This may be the most important pivot you make all year. Stop asking. I mean exactly that. Stop asking God for power. Now let me tell you why, and do not try to steal this with the intellect. The very moment you ask for power, you have quietly said, "Power is not where I am. Power is somewhere else." That is the confession baked into the request, and in that instant a line is drawn. On one side there is an asker, on the other side a giver. 2. The prayer seems holy, but the structure is separation. The words pretend communion, the posture betrays distance. Do you not see the paradox? The most earnest seeker, the one most faithful to the ritual of asking, becomes the most practiced in rehearsing powerlessness. Each petition is another lap around the same track. I, the needy one, thou, the powerful one. And you wonder why, in the middle of all that talk about omnipresence, you still feel a vacancy. You have enthroned absence with your asking. Now the mind, oh, it will argue. It will say, but is it not humble to ask? Is it not reverent? And I must answer you with the seriousness of a surgeon. Be careful with that word humble. The world calls it humble when the beggar stays at the gate. Spirit calls it denial when the heir refuses his inheritance. A certain kind of humility is the last mask of pride. The pride that says, I know who I am. I am the little one, the effect, the outsider. That is not humility before God. That is humility before a concept of yourself. Please understand, I am not condemning sincerity. I am exposing a mechanism. Asking presumes two-ness. Two-ness manufactures delay. Delay breeds doubt. Doubt returns you to asking. And the circle holds you like a charm, a spell, until someone comes into your room and breaks it with a sentence. Stop asking. Because the asking confesses separation. But what shall I do then? The mind rushes in. Notice how it wants a technique, a replacement. It wants a holier asking. I am not giving you a better method of begging. I am announcing the end of the beggar. I am asking you, with me, to stand 1 inch to the left of your habit and see what it has been hiding. The assumption that power is absent, that power is earned, that power comes like a package delivered to an address called me. If you can bear this, even for a moment, a quiet begins. Not the quiet of resignation, but a stillness that does not negotiate. In that stillness, you will find no request forming on the tongue, because the tongue has nothing to acquire. And we will go further with that. For now, write this on the tablet of attention. Every request for power says, power is not here. Stop saying it. Thank you. Now, let us turn the picture completely around. If asking confesses separation, then what reveals union? The reversal is this. Power is not an article shipped to your address. Power is the cause out of which the address, the house, the family, the work, the body, the world expression appear. Do you see? Power is not something you get. Power is what is. And when you are rightly identified, you are that cause through which it shows itself. Take the simplest thing, oranges. The oranges do not constitute supply. If you think they do, you will forever be counting, hoarding, fearing frost, fearing thieves, fearing time. No. The life of the tree is the supply. The sap, the law of its own being, the rhythm that moves from root to blossom to fruit. There is the wealth. The oranges are the fruitage. They are not the cause. They do not tell the tree what to do. The tree, being what it is, declares itself as oranges. So with what you call miracles. A changed body, a solved problem, a sudden courage. These are not power. These are fruit. Consciousness is power. Consciousness recognized as cause is the sap. Now look at the spiritual habit we have made respectable. We have treated prayer as ordering results. Health, please. Courage, please. Money, influence, success, please. As if prayer were a catalog and God a shipping department. And then we wait at the door, anxious for delivery, complaining of delay, wondering if we put the address correctly on the envelope. That is worship of effects. It is like taping store-bought oranges to a dead branch and calling it an orchard. It looks right for a day. It withers. It cannot endure because it did not proceed from cause. Do not misunderstand me. Stopping the asking is not stopping prayer. It is stopping the false premise within prayer. Prayer is not petition. Prayer is recognition. Prayer is the beholding of cause as I am, the quiet acknowledgement that there is no distance, no outside, no arriving power. Prayer is not words persuading a God somewhere. Prayer is silence, knowing God as the life of this being now. I mean exactly that. When cause is recognized, demonstration follows as fruitage, without personal push. Effects appear as naturally as the orange on the healthy tree, as inevitably as light when a switch is closed. You do not get life. You cannot get health. You cannot get supply. You reveal life, health, supply by standing as cause, which is another way of saying by resting as the consciousness from which form derives. Then the body improves as an improved concept. The business arranges. The temper quiets. The creativity flows, not because you ordered them, but because cause remained itself and could not help appearing. Write this and live with it. Power is cause, not cargo. And every time you feel the old reach for an effect, step back. Do not patch the fruit. Tend the tree. Recognize the life within as the only power, and watch what appears on the branches of your day. Thank you. Now, having said all of that about cause, we must turn the light where it belongs, not on a new method, but on you. Who am I? What am I? Not as a philosophical game, as the doorway. The mind will reach for a technique, the next better form of asking. But I am telling you, the secret of life lies in right identification. Rightly identify, and the habit of petition falls of itself. Wrongly identify, and you can pray from dawn to midnight and remain outside your own inheritance. Let us expose the trap so you can never comfortably step into it again. If you accept yourself as a human effect, born of circumstances, carried along by bodies, economies, forecasts, then your prayer will always be upward, outward, futureward. Do you see? The effect pleads with the cause it thinks is elsewhere. The effect waits on time. The effect bargains with distance. And every syllable, even when it sounds holy, keeps the structure of two-ness intact. Here am I, there is power. Here is lack, there is supply. Here is sickness, there is health. This is why the asking never ends. The asker is the asking. As long as that identity stands, supply must remain over there. What corrects it? Not better words, not louder words, not eloquent words. The corrective is, I am. Not the phrase. Do not clutch a sound. I am speaking of the felt fact of being, prior to description, prior to history. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice, before you can say your name, before you can count your troubles or your talents, there is a quiet being. It is not pleading. It is not arriving. It is. Rest there, even for 10 seconds. In that awareness, ask yourself, who would I be asking, and from where would an answer come? In that I that is, there is no edge from which to send a request, and no distance from which something must return. I mean exactly that. Now, you have been taught to say, God is power, God is love, God is life. Beautiful, accurate, and incomplete if you leave yourself outside the statement. If God is power and you remain the petitioner, the two-ness persists. If God is omnipresent, where could you be that is not within as the very presence you describe? If there is truly one presence, then the distance you feel is not actual. It is conceptual. It is a costume the mind has woven and worn so long, it thinks it is skin. So the question is not, how shall I get power? The question is, who am I that I imagine power is elsewhere? Write that across the day. Put it on the mirror, tuck it in the purse. Each time the old reach begins, stop. Return to the fact of I am. Let identity be cause. When identity is right, asking ceases without effort, and what you called answers appear as fruitage, not as favors. We will go the whole way with this, but begin here. Be who you are, and watch what becomes unnecessary. Thank you. Now we must say the sentence that ends the bargaining. I and the Father are one. I mean exactly that, not a metaphor, not a future hope, not a poet's flourish. One. And before the intellect rises up with its, but surely you don't mean you, the person, the temperament, the biography are God. Let us be very clear. Oneness is not the tiny ego swelling to divine size. It is the dissolving of the tiny ego in the light of the One. It is not man becoming God. It is God revealing itself as the I that you are before you say man. In other words, the separation you were praying across is found to be a concept, and when the concept yields, power is discovered not as a delivery, but as presence. Why does oneness release power? Because there is no distance left through which power must travel. There is no outside left to send it from, and no inside to receive it. The circuit is complete, because there never was a break except the mental imagination of one. When you withdraw your consent from the gap, the life that is God reveals as the life that is I. Then the works appear, not as favors sent to an outsider, but as the nature of being showing forth. The kingdom of God is within you. Where then do you go for it? Within does not mean under your ribs. It means within the awareness that is announcing itself as I. Now I know your training. You have been warned that such talk is blasphemy, or arrogance, or the end of individuality. It is none of these. It is the end of pretending. It is the humility that says, "Of mine own self I can do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works." And then dares to trust that statement so completely that the personal will stops pushing. It is not arrogance to take the Master at his word. It is arrogance to keep negotiating after he has said one. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the word "I" be present, without adding your name to it, without attaching a history to it. Just "I." Notice, it is not begging. It is not promising. It is. In that quiet "I," ask, no, not beg, ask as recognition. Is there an other? If there is not, to whom would I speak, and from whom would I await? When Scripture says, "Ask, and it shall be given," hear it as, "Acknowledge, and it is evident." Ask as in consent. Ask as in turn within and agree. I and the Father are one. The giving is not a shipment. It is the appearing of what is when the plea stops blocking the view. Functionally, this ends the prayer of getting. The false self retires from management. It stops trying to get God to do something, and God, as I am, simply is what it is. Then, "Thy will be done" is not resignation to a fate. It is the felt rhythm of your own being fulfilling itself as health, as order, as guidance, as whatever form is needful this hour. Oneness is not a concept to admire. It is the end of the belief that power must come from somewhere other than I am. Live there, and watch the negotiation fall away like yesterday's worry. Thank you. Now, let us face the peace that still resists. You have worked. You have prayed, affirmed, repeated. Hours. Years. Some days the heavens open, and some days your words fall to the floor with a dull sound. Why this inconsistency? The premise wobbles. 1 hour you taste oneness and rest. The next, you resume the identity of the effect and try to pull power toward you with effort. You cannot plant a tree at dawn and tape fruit to it at noon and call that a harvest. When cause is recognized, fruitage appears. When cause is denied, strain begins. It feels holy because it looks like devotion. It produces strain because it is the old premise, separation, dressed in religious clothing. There is a hidden payoff to striving, and until you see it, you will defend it as virtue. Striving preserves the role of the one who lacks but tries. That role carries a certain heroism. It lets you keep your story. It gives you tomorrow. Tomorrow, after God answers, I will be whole. Tomorrow, when I have repeated it enough, the mountain will move. Tomorrow is safer than now, because now ends the one who is trying. Do you see? The asker survives by postponing realization. The striver is a protected identity. It is familiar. It can be admired. It can remain the center. Oneness removes the center. Oneness says, nothing to become. I am. That feels like falling, until you notice you were falling while striving, and are finally still when you let go. Now, please hear the difference between discipline and strain. Discipline is not force. Discipline is consenting to stillness, consenting to recognition, returning again and again to the fact of I am. Strain is mental force attempting to shove effects into place. Discipline yields. Strain pushes. Discipline is silence that knows. Strain is noise that hopes. With discipline, you are not manufacturing an answer. You are refusing to leave cause. With strain, you are worshiping the very distance you say you hate. And the mind, oh, it will try to master oneness as an idea. It will outline steps, make charts, create a program. Trying to understand this with the intellect makes it an absolute impossibility. You cannot think your way into I. You can only stop thinking your way out of it. Be still and know. Not be clever. Not be intense. Be still. Knowing follows stillness because knowing is native to I. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice the subtle clench inside, the doer preparing to push. Where is it? In the chest? The brow? The breath? Now drop the push and simply agree. I and the Father are one. No future in that sentence. No bargaining chip. Just agreement. Do you feel the difference? The prayer of getting stands outside knocking. The prayer of recognition is already inside and finds no door. Write this and live with it. Striving is the mask separation wears to look pious. Lay down the mask. The instant you stop postponing and say, now, not tomorrow, now, I am, the strain dissolves like mist in the morning, and the day begins to bear fruit without your hands on the branch. Thank you. Now we will do it, not talk about it. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the hands be still. Let the breath be as it is. No improvement, no technique, just a small consent. Notice that before a word forms, there is being. Before a thought about God or need or tomorrow, there is I. Stay there. Do not decorate it. Do not reach for a holy sentence to make it better. Stop the words and notice. Ask quietly, not as petition, as recognition. Where is power located right now? The mind will jump to the chest, to the head, to the heavens, to the future. Do not chase it. Where is power located? Watch this. Each time you try to pin it to a spot, you are treating power as an article in space. Let the question echo once more, and then see what answers without words. It is not located. It is. It is the very awareness by which the question was heard. It is the light in which body sensations and sounds and thoughts appear. Do you feel how that undoes the search? The seeker was looking from within the very presence it hoped to find. Now, gently, let the inner statement rise. No strain, no push. Not, God, give me power. That was yesterday's tongue. Let it be, Father. Reveal thyself as my very being. And then rest. Do not look for a sign to validate it. The looking is the remnant of bargaining. The revealing is not an event. It is the unmasking of what is already here. Father, reveal thyself as my very being. Not as a mood, not as a thrill, as the simple I that notices this breath, this room, this quiet. Stand still now. The old asking energy will twitch, like a habit reaching for a phone that is no longer in the pocket. Let it dissolve. It has nothing to hold when you refuse to speak its language. Be still and know. Peace will begin to spread without your authoring it. Understand, That peace is not the reward for a successful exercise. It is the sign of correct identification. It says, without words, I and the Father are one. I mean exactly that. The instant you stop requesting what you already are, the sense of burden slides off as if it never truly belonged. This, what you are consenting to this minute, this is prayer. Not negotiation, communion. Not persuading a distant will, listening for what is forever saying I within. In this listening, there is no distance left to cross, so nothing needs to be moved by effort. You are not acquiring, you are recognizing. You are not adding, you are allowing the veil of two-ness to thin until it is gone. Now open the eyes, but do not leave. Keep the attention soft. Let the sounds continue, let the tasks approach, but refuse the old impulse to secure power by words. Return silently, Father, reveal thyself as my very being. Then stop. Rest. Let the presence that needs no permission live its own life as this day. Watch how guidance arrives as the next obvious step, how order appears without your shove, how strength stands up in you before a thought arranges it. This is the release of power, and it begins the instant the asking ends. Thank you. Now the question that remains is, how does this look when the sun is up and bills are due, and a body asks for ease and a decision must be made before noon? Do not leap back to getting. Remain with cause. Effects, supply, health, guidance, protection, are the fruitage of recognized cause. They are oranges on the living tree of consciousness. They are not shipments to be tracked. They are not prizes to be won by effort. When oneness is acknowledged, effects appear without personal push. I mean exactly that. Take supply. Dollar bills do not constitute your wealth. You constitute your wealth. If you think dollars are wealth, you will worship numbers, fear subtraction, and measure God with arithmetic. But if you know wealth as the life of your own being, as the sufficiency of I am revealing itself in right form at the right moment, you will stop asking for dollars as if they were power. You will rest in source. Then the necessary forms come. A client calls, a debt is forgiven, an idea clears and becomes an invoice. A wasteful habit quietly ends. A generosity opens that somehow multiplies. None of that arrived because you pried open heaven. It ripened because you tended the tree. Health? You do not get life. You reveal life. Stand in I am and watch what happens to the body concept. A tightness eases. A compulsion loses its center. Sleep returns. Strength appears without a speech about strength. The law of your being, present before you outlined a remedy, identifies as order, and the body conforms as an improved concept, the way a plant turns toward the sun when the curtain is pulled back. You did not push the stem. You removed the shade. Guidance? Stop bargaining for signs. The demand for immediate proof is still asking. It is the old beggar putting on a stopwatch. Power is not delayed. Only perception is delayed by mental argument and emotional insistence. Insistence creates fog. Recognition clears it. When the fog lifts, the path that was already there is obvious. The next right thing feels simple, almost too simple. Send that email now. Wait until afternoon for that call. Take the second street. Use 3 words instead of 30. The ego will complain, but where is my vision, my trumpet? Let it complain. Fruit makes no noise as it ripens. Protection? You are not made safe by fences. You are safety revealing itself as alertness, timing, omission, inclusion. You leave the house 5 minutes later and miss an entanglement. You feel a nudge to check a lock, and a problem never forms. You recognize a face to trust and another to bless from a distance. None of this is paranoia. It is consciousness being itself as harmony. Let me give you an ordinary chain so you do not mystify this. You enter a strained conversation. The old identity tenses to win. You remember, "No, I am." You drop the push. One sentence rises that is kind instead of clever. The other person's shoulders lower. A space opens. Later that afternoon, because the conversation did not explode, you have energy for a task you had postponed. You complete it. In that work, an idea appears that solves a separate problem. You send it. Someone replies, "This is exactly what we needed." Income moves, not because you chased it, but because you stopped being an effect seeking causes and consented to be cause revealing effects. The tree lived, and so there was fruit. So live like this. Tend the root, not the fruit. Refuse to yank at branches for evidence. Let demonstration be natural, not coerced. Each time the mind says, "Prove it now," smile and return. "Father, reveal thyself as my very being," and then go about your simple next step. Effects will appear as quietly as dawn, and you will recognize them by their ease. Thank you. Now we come to the one thing that must die. Not you, the concept. Hear that with care. The false sense of yourself as a separate, needy effect must die daily. That is the cross. That is the letting go. I die daily is not morbidity. It is relinquishment of the mask that has been calling itself me. I mean exactly that. Powerlessness is not a fact. It is a concept. It is learned. It is rehearsed by memory, stories of failure, snapshots of yesterday's lack, by diagnosis, labels that try to define your horizon, by social conditioning that names you by race, class, age, gender, and then tells you the approved limits of each, by religious habit that bows and calls it humility to remain outside the temple of your own being. All of this forms a costume, well-stitched, familiar, and it whispers, "I am the one who asks. I am the dependent effect." That concept must die. If it lives, it prays forever as an orphan at the window of a house that is, in truth, its own. Oneness does not negotiate with that costume. Oneness does not improve the old concept. Oneness replaces identification. And because replacement feels like loss to the dreamer, there is often a tremor at the threshold. Who will I be without my grievances, without my victories, without my schedule of deserving? For a moment, it seems you are losing yourself. You are not. You are losing only the scaffolding erected around you. When the scaffolding falls, the building stands free. Now apply this to the body and conditions. What the senses report is a concept. The word flesh can be translated into the word concept. The infant body, the youth body, the adult body, each is a different concept appearing in the light of the same eye. Transformation does not jam new effects into old consciousness. Transformation is the renewing of consciousness, and the body follows as an improved concept. You do not get life into matter. You recognize life as I am, and the concept conforming to that recognition rearranges. Ease where there was tension, order where there was confusion, function where there was stalling. You did not decorate decay. You withdrew belief from the dying concept, and it died. And what remains? I. Close your eyes for a moment. Gently set down your name, your occupation, your age, your history. One by one, like taking off weighted coats. Who remains? Notice the quiet I before biography. That I needs no permission. That I does not ask. That I is cause. Stay there long enough to feel the little tremor that says, "But what about me?" That tremor is the effect identity ending. Let it. In the stillness after its protest, peace appears, not as a reward, but as your nature uncovered. We are at the gate of a simple decision. Remain an effect asking for power, and keep the costume, the delay, the strain. Or accept oneness now, and let the effect identity dissolve. The decision lies with you. Write this and live with it. I do not die. The concept dies. Each time you consent to that letting die, power is released, not from a distance, but from the very I that is your life. Thank you. Now we must turn revelation into routine. Not the routine of words, the routine of recognition. The difference will decide your year. I am going to give you an assignment so simple the mind will call it insufficient, and so deep you could live with it for the rest of your days and not exhaust it. Write this sentence: that which I am seeking, I am. Or if that breathes better for you, I and the Father are one. I mean exactly that. Choose one. Only one. Do not alternate as if you were tasting candies. One sentence. Write it longhand. Put it up on the mirror where your eyes cannot avoid it. Put a copy in the wallet. Put it in the phone so that several times a day it interrupts you the way the old asking used to interrupt you. Tape a small card to the inside of the front door so leaving and entering are both consecrated. If you carry a purse, tuck one there. If you keep a journal, begin each entry with the sentence before you say a word about events. And I do not know how you could spend less than a year on that one sentence. A year is mercy to the nervous system that has practiced separation for decades. Now, what do you do when need presents itself? First, notice the twitch to beg. That is the old costume trying to reassemble itself. Do not scold it. Notice it as you would a habit reaching for sugar. Second, pause. 1 breath. 2. Return to I am. Say your one sentence, not as a magic string, as a door back to being. Third, rest. 10 seconds of actual consent will accomplish more than 10 paragraphs of petition. Fourth, listen. Not for a thunderclap, for the next simple rightness. Fifth, take the next human step without panic. Send the note, make the call, boil the water, lie down for 15 minutes. The step will be quiet. Fruit ripens without a speech about ripening. You must learn the difference between affirming and realizing. Affirmation as noise tries to plant truth in a soil of fear and keeps checking whether it sprouted. Realization is the soil itself. Words are not power. Words are carriers. If the carrier is empty, if there is no yielded awareness behind it, it delivers nothing. If the carrier is full, if the words are resting on I am, the sentence becomes transparent, and the presence it points to is felt as peace, as sufficiency. So do not chant to drown out anxiety. Be still and let the sentence open into silence. The silence is the power. Guard yourself against spiritual consumption. Do not graze through teachings as if wisdom were calories to count. Choose your sentence and contemplate it until it lives you. Read less, go within more. Each return to the sentence is not adding information, it is subtracting distance. Each time you refuse to collect a new phrase and instead agree with the one you have, a thread of the old habit snaps and does not return. Make a small rule and keep it. Morning, midday, evening, 1 minute each. Look, say, stop, no. That is the practice of not asking. Not learning new prayers, unlearning the habit of separation until oneness becomes your normal consciousness. Then the day arranges itself around cause, and you discover that power, unpushed, expresses as needed form without strain. Thank you. Now the last refinement. When the fruit begins to show, supply easing, a body lightening, guidance arriving so naturally it seems ordinary, the old habit puts on a new mask. It stops begging and starts clutching. Don't let it change. Don't let it go. And with that one thought, separation quietly rebuilds itself. Clinging is asking in disguise. Asking said, "Give it to me." Clinging says, "Keep it for me." Both confess a power outside, a source elsewhere, a life that can be lost. Hear this. To hold a form as if it were your life is to forget your life. Your life is I am. The form is fruitage. Enjoy the fruit. Do not imprison the tree. Non-clinging is not coldness. It is confidence in source. It is the majesty of oneness made visible as poise. If God is the source, and God is your very being, what is there to fear in the change of forms? Oranges come this season, blossoms come the next. The life of the tree is unafraid of seasons. So be willing to see it come, and be willing to see it go, and remain as I am. I mean exactly that. This is detachment as proof of oneness. You bless the appearing, you bless the disappearing. You stay as the presence in which both occur. Let us name the arc plainly, so the mind cannot confuse it again. Asking confirmed separation. Oneness ended the bargaining. Recognition revealed cause. Cause bore fruit as effects that came of themselves without your shove. And fruitage, properly seen, flowers into gratitude without grasping. Gratitude to whom? Not to a distant giver parceling out favors, but to the living God that is your own I. The recognition that says, this order, this provision, this peace is the natural language of my being. Gratitude, then, is not flattery to secure more. It is agreement with what is. And agreement never fears a change of costume because it trusts the actor. Now close your eyes for a moment. Do not ask, do not promise. Let the inward word be simple. Father, I recognize Thee as my being. Thank you. Let the breath move as it will. Notice the ease that is here without effort. If there is a good in your life you are tempted to hold with both hands, place it gently in this presence. Not to lose it, there is no losing in I, but to set it free to be what it is. Expression, not possession. Say within, I remain as I am, and let power express itself as needed forms without fear. Rest 10 seconds in that. Be still and know. This is maturity. To let the good come without pride. To let it go without panic. To remain as I am without interruption. Live like this and watch how freshness continues, how ideas refresh themselves, how friendships breathe, how work renews, how the body concept stays supple, not because you guarded outcomes, but because you refused to leave source. Let the day be an altar of non-clinging. Receive, release, remain. Thank you.